Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Kareem for one of the last days that we can say. It's either the last day or tomorrow's the last day, depending on when you're doing Eid. Um, Today, I wanted to share a little something with you that happened to me this morning. I caught, it wasn't an Uber, but it was a similar company, and I caught a taxi. And I noticed the gentleman driving the taxi appeared to be Muslim. So, I said Assalamu alaikum to him. And he responded to me, Wa alaikum assalam. And then he said, what? No, first then I said Ramadan Kareem. And then he says, what? Are you Muslim? And I said, yeah. And he says, are you sure? And I says, what do you mean, am I sure? I said, I've been Muslim for 23 years. He says, yeah, but you really sure? And then it's like, I said to him, I says, how do you know from how a person looks, whether they are a Muslim or they're not a Muslim? I says, Turkish people look like me. I said, someone who looks like you could be a Buddhist, they could be Hindu, they could be Sikh. And he says, oh, Sikh people wouldn't have like this, and points to his trim moustache. And I says, seriously, brother, are you saying that Islam is basically, you're boiling it down to whether you have a trimmed moustache or not a trimmed moustache? I said, is that all your understanding of Islam is? Now, this person was clearly quite a recent immigrant to the UK and comes from a village in Pakistan. Now, none of that is in itself an issue. I've got nothing against Pakistanis per se. A lot of my good friends are Pakistani. And I say Pakistani, I mean Pakistani, British Pakistani, and also Pakistanis from Pakistan. And I've got nothing against people who live in villages either. But what struck me was that this brother, he then went on to try to preach to me in extremely broken English. I mean, he didn't understand, like he couldn't explain himself properly in English and couldn't quite understand what I was saying. So I went quiet. And then I just was making a very simple point to him that, you can't just boil down Islam to a beard and how you trim your moustache. For him, this was so important. He says, but brother, it's so difficult here in this country, being Muslim, and to keeping this. I'm only 30 something. He said, and this was all in very, very broken English. And I says, I have no issue with that. It's fine. You can grow your beard. You don't have to grow your beard. I says, I was just making a very simple point that you talk about sunnah, but the real sunnah, the most important sunnah, is adab and akhlaq. It's how you treat people. It's not about how long you grow your beard or whether you trim your moustache or you don't trim your moustache. And I said, the only reason I'm commenting upon it is you said, well, if I was Sikh, I wouldn't do this. Look at this, brother. I mean, I was a bit surprised as well, being in Ramadan as well, for this kind of attitude, and quite almost judgmental attitude towards me, because he didn't expect to see an English Muslim in a fedora. But, I mean, he then went on to mention about racism. And I have to say, when a person has that kind of attitude and they don't let you get a word in, they're speaking and trying to preach to you in broken English, and not quite understanding what you're saying, and not even trying to listen, not even trying to understand, because they already think they know everything. How much of any problems he's having are to do with racism, and how much of it is to do with his attitude? I would suggest a hell of a lot of it has to do with his attitude. And I'm not suggesting that there's no racism. I'm not suggesting there's no Islamophobia or anti-Muslim prejudice within this country. But at the same time, if we have the wrong attitude, then we're not going to get people on people's best side. And it was just, I just wanted to share because I haven't met people like this for some time. A lot of the people that I meet from Pakistan tend to be more educated, and there are some people here that have less refined understanding of Islam, let's say, but they don't normally come at me with this kind of attitude that this person had, and especially during Ramadan. And I mean, this, if you meet anybody like this, please don't take it as a reflection of what Islam is, because this is just, these are just people from one particular part of the world who have a particular approach, who've been listening to certain mullahs that have a certain approach to Islam, where they put so much emphasis on beards and how you trim your mustache instead of what Islam is really about. And even I said to this brother at one point, I said, you know, how you think you can explain to me about the Islam when I've been a Muslim for 23 years and I've been studying Islam for that length of time? I mean, he went quiet at that point for a few minutes. But I mean, I was just really taken aback by the whole thing. Anyway, may Allah forgive him, may Allah bless his soul, and may Allah bless you all. I hope you all have a very good Eid, whether you're celebrating it tomorrow or the day after. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.